Welcome to NP Certification Q&A, presented by Fitzgerald Health Education Associates. This podcast is for NP students studying to pass their NP certification exam. Getting to the correct test answers means breaking down the exam questions themselves. Expert Fitzgerald faculty clinicians share their knowledge and experience to help you dissect the anatomy of a test question so you can better understand how to arrive at the correct test answer. So, if you're ready, let's jump right in.
The psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner is asked to evaluate a 5-year-old child who has been having difficulty adjusting to kindergarten and has been disruptive in the classroom. The child is pleasant in the office, responds to questions, and seems to understand that she is having this appointment because she does not seem happy in kindergarten. Via role play and discussion, the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner learns that the child is sad and frightened because she was angry with her daddy and she wished he didn't live there anymore. Very shortly thereafter, her parents told her that daddy would be moving out. Daddy moving out made mom sad. The 5-year-old thinks it's all her fault. This is why she is so unhappy. This is characteristic of which of Piaget's developmental stages? Sensorimotor, preoperational, concrete operational, or formal operational? So remember, Jean Piaget developed the stages of cognitive development, and he characterized them from birth to adolescence in these 4 stages: sensorimotor, preoperational, concrete operational, and formal operational. And they correlate to age ranges. Sensorimotor is the stage from 0 to 2 years where most of the child's development is truly sensorimotor. They become ambulatory, they develop fine motor skills, they can crawl, then they can walk, they can pick up, they can move things around, physically manipulate the environment. They develop a sense of object permanence in the sensorimotor stage where they can develop an attachment to a parent or caregiver figure and know that that figure is permanent even if it temporarily steps out of view. But mostly the sensorimotor stage is about motor control. The preoperational thought stage is the stage that occurs between the ages of 2 and 7, and that is the correct answer to the question. B, preoperational stage. What's happening in the preoperational stage is that advancing from the sensorimotor stage, the patient's still a child, still in early development, but the majority of motor skills are mastered at this point, and now there starts to be some advancement or development in the way they think, but it's still very immature. In the sensorimotor stage, the child is still very egocentric. They can only see the world from their own perspective. Up until about the age of 7, they really don't understand the concept of how do you think it makes that person feel? How do you think it makes your sister feel? They can only see the world from their own perspective. They also demonstrate what is commonly referred to as magical thinking at this age. And that's what's going on here. Magical thinking is that sense that if they think something, they can make it happen. So this child is understandably, she's very upset and distraught because she thinks that just being mad at her daddy and wishing he didn't live there anymore is the cause of him moving out. And it is a perfectly normal, appropriate demonstration of her developmental stage. That in this preoperational stage, while they definitely are starting to think, certainly in a more advanced way than that of the sensorimotor, they still do have these very primitive and immature thought processes like the magical thinking that we just talked about. They tend to demonstrate animistic thinking where they will attribute feelings that they have to physical objects like their doll or their toy or even their animals. They have a very concrete understanding of good and bad. They respond to timeout and consequences, but they're not really capable of moral thought yet. So the answer to the question again is B. This is the preoperational stage: magical thinking, egocentricity, animistic thinking. They just don't link things to logic yet. Their concepts are very primitive. They learn things without reasoning through them at this point. And all of this is characteristic of this 5-year-old's impression. And so, yes, she genuinely thinks that by wishing her daddy didn't live there anymore, that's why he's leaving, and it's making her mom sad, and she thinks it's all her fault. C is not correct. C is the concrete operational process. In concrete operations, this is typically between ages 7 and 11 years, and now the child can now begin to see things from the perspective of another. They can start to reason through some things and follow rules. They even begin to just develop their moral sense of right and wrong. And then the formal operational stage, I mean, this is the adolescent stage. This is the child that is beginning to develop the ability to think like an adult. Doesn't necessarily mean they do, but they are developing that ability. They're capable of deductive reasoning. They're capable of abstract thought, developing skills to deal with variations to certain phenomenon. So all of these are characteristic of Piaget's cognitive development. But this 5-year-old is demonstrating magical thinking, and that is consistent with the pre-operational thought stage of development.
Thank you for listening to NP Certification Q&A, presented by Fitzgerald Health Education Associates. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And for more NP resources, visit FHEA.com.